Chris Bailey is a rising star in track and field, and in the span of just a single year, he went from unsponsored and relatively overlooked to becoming one of the top 400-meter sprinters in the world. At the 2024 Paris Olympics, Chris Bailey not only finished 6th place in the men's 400-meter final, but he later ran the leadoff leg for Team USA's 4x4 that won the gold medal and broke the Olympic record in the event. At the top of 2025, Chris has already become the world indoor champion in both the 400 and 4x4. He's won his first Diamond League race in the 400, and he competed at Grand Slam track in Kingston, Jamaica. This was all further cemented when he signed a deal to professionally represent Nike. I got a chance to sit down with Chris where we dive into his background of getting into track and field instead of going into the military, running both cross country and the 400 in the NCAA, as well as almost quitting the sport after his time at the University of Arkansas was done. We also dive into the toughest moments Chris has faced in his career, his experience competing at the 2024 Olympics, and his unique style of running the 400. Let's dive into it. All right, Chris. So excited to have you on. You've been having like an amazing, I guess, like 12 months. The past year has been absolutely insane for you in terms of like your growth, your development, and just all your accomplishments. I wonder if like you've had a chance to, I don't know, even sit back and reflect on everything that you've had the opportunity to do, all the things you've been able to earn, over the past year.
Definitely. Every now and then I'm going back and looking at, old videos of some of my runs and, I'm just like, wow, I really did that. And then of course, I still at the University of Arkansas, so I train with the collegiate athletes. And so, we always join back and forth with each other and just talking about all of my accomplishments, all their accomplishments, just keeping everything fun.
Keeping
So,
everything fun. I love it. I love it. And like to give you a proper kind of intro where, you're an Olympic gold medalist winning, gold in the 4x4 last year in Paris. You're now a newly minted world indoor gold medalist in the 400 and the 4x4 as well as even winning your first Diamond League title or your first Diamond League race, recently out in China. So you've been hitting all cylinders over the past year and there's been so much growth. And we'll dive into kind of further outlook. But I'm curious if we could circle back on like how you even got into track in the first place. Like what was it that, sparked that interest or who was it that kind of like drew you in to, dive in and start actually running?
so the first time I was like officially on a track team, it was in middle school, eighth grade year. Um, I wasn't really doing anything. I think I was playing like rec football at the time. And then once that ended, it was time for track. Track season was starting up. So I was like, okay, I was gonna run track, just to do something. And I was a miler, and for some reason I snuck down to the 800. I don't even remember like any of my times from that time. Fast forward, I get to high school and I'm not doing anything. I didn't start running track again until junior year of high school, and I was doing the 800 then. I was all right. I qualified for state. Um, what else? I ran one 4x4, and I was like, okay, I think I want to run a 400 instead of the 800. And I go to my coach at the time, and he's like, okay, well, if you want to run the 400, you still got to run the 800. I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. I'll do it. Um, so fast forward senior year, that's when full time 400. Um, Not really the fastest out there. Like I think I opened up that senior year with like a 50.1 or something. And I was like, okay, that wasn't that bad. I won the race. So I think I can stick with this. And then I ended up running 48.5 at our state meet, getting sixth place. And then the summer after I graduated high school, um, that's when I decided to run summer track because I wasn't really sure on whether or not I wanted to go to college or not. I think within that same week, I was in a Marine recruiter's office, and for some reason, I was just like, I guess I'll try summer track. So I reached out to a summer coach that gave me his card at our district meet, I believe, and he told me to come on out that next Wednesday or whatever, and took off from there, ran 47.5, and at that meet that I ran at 47.5, there was a coach from Mississippi Valley at that meeting. He offered me a scholarship on the spot, and that's how my collegiate career got started.
Okay, so that's actually kind of crazy. I didn't know that you were almost about to be joining the military. Like you were still kind of deciding. Like what was there some one thing that was like, even though you got to, run summer track, was there one thing that was like, okay, now I'm actually going to do this, and I'm going to step away from the military ambitions.
Um, I really don't know. I honestly don't know. I think it was just impulse,
Mm.
boredom, you know, because I typically didn't really do anything. Like if I wasn't at school, I was at home playing video games. Like that was literally it.
That's so wild, but it makes sense in terms of like what kind of drove you. It's like, yeah, just boredom on that aspect, and it drove you to something else. Was it that I don't know, your family did people in your family go to college, or were there people who hadn't gone to college? Like, what was your decision making on you not being sure if you even wanted to go?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few of my family members, like my mom, she went to college. I think she has a 2-year degree.
Mm,
A few of my cousins, they've actually achieved postgraduate degrees.
mhm.
But it wasn't really like forced upon me, I would say. Like my parents, my family in general are like very supportive
Yeah.
of making conscious decisions. They're not going to force me, one way or another. If I want to do something, they support me fully as long as I'm, level-headed with it and can roll with the punches. Um, and I know college degrees mean a lot, in the world outside of school. And so I was like, man, I want one. So, but I didn't want to put that financial burden on my family. So it was like, if I don't get a track scholarship, go to the military, ultimately I can get a free degree there. Um, so yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, and that's like I don't know. I feel like that's really dope as someone who's still in high school, and you're able to kind of process that of like, yeah, like I don't want to put that burden on my family. I do have different options, right? You still may want a degree, but like there's different pathways to get it. So that's actually really cool. So now going into Mississippi Valley, it explains like you saying you started as a miler, 800 runner. That explains because I'm looking up on T-First, I'm like, you were running cross country while you were there, like so. Was it you were because even though you had done well in the 400, was it you were recruited to do both cross country and track?
I wasn't necessarily recruited to run cross country,
Mm,
but Mississippi Valley is a very small Division I university, HBCU, and so the roster spots they weren't really full, and so in order to keep teams eligible, you have to have those roster spots and you have to compete at these meets. And so it was another way to also stay healthy, stay in shape, or get in shape. That was my fall training. Cross country was my
mm.
fall training. And so um, for me, it wasn't that bad because, I started doing distance. Um, and, there's a lot of coaches out there and sports scientists that say sprinters shouldn't do blah, blah, blah. It depends on who the athlete is. I mean, I'm not saying I will run cross country again, but I don't think it hurt me in a way.
No, that's a good point. And exactly like you said, I think it's easy for people to look at sprinters at any level and be like, why are you doing distance running or why are you doing this or that? But like you said, every individual athlete is going to be significantly different. So that makes a lot of sense. And so moving forward, like you were very unique in that you transferred a lot from Mississippi Valley all the way to Tennessee to Arkansas. It wasn't the traditional path of like you stay 4 years at one school. I wonder why you chose to, or yeah, what led to making those transfers and how you were able to remain consistent, relatively consistent, consistently getting better and better year after year, despite all those changes.
So the reasoning for me leaving Mississippi Valley and Tennessee are pretty much the same reason. I mean, there was just a coaching change.
Yeah.
Mississippi Valley, my coach, she, got a better job opportunity,
Yeah.
and of course she took it. And at first, I was going to follow her, but I mean, after me and her spoke, and after I entered the portal, many more opportunities were granted to me. And financially, those were just the best decision. And so that's how I ended up at Tennessee. And then fast forward to Tennessee, another coaching change. or the entire coaching staff changed. And, pretty much the same thing, just looking for a better opportunity. But that time I was, approaching my last year of collegiate eligibility. And so I really knew what exactly I was looking for in a program. And that's how I ended up at Arkansas.
Right. Were there any worries during those couple years of like, oh man, like this coaching change, the coaches changed and like now I got to change schools, even if you knew like what you were looking for?
If you were to ask me that when I was in like high school, I would be like, yeah, there was some worry. But once I got to college, it was like easier for me. Like, I don't know why. I don't know what the switch was, but it was way easier. No stress. I was always looking for a better opportunity and a more of a challenge, I would say. Like, because I never wanted to go to a school where I was the top guy coming in. Like, I wanted to be under someone, and so I can work to that point. So, that was also, something I was looking for as I was transferring.
Well, okay. I wonder if that carries through now, where you like to almost like have to work towards or like be the underdog in a sense. Like you want to be able to either chase people or, someone else gets a spotlight and you can like work towards them. Does that kind of still resonate now?
I would say yes. Uh, I mean, that's kind of how I raced the 400. If you,
Yeah. Nice. All right. So in when you get to Arkansas, and like you said, that's your essentially 1 year that you were at Arkansas. And I remember in I think it was January of 2023 where you popped off like a 45-0 indoors. And that was like I was your personal best at the time. But I remember like online, it kind of like blew up like, oh, Chris Bailey, he's like here. Like Chris Bailey's kind of like, one of the guys going into NCAAs. I wonder if that moment and that performance indicated anything for you, if you kind of felt like, okay, wow, like things are kind of coming together, or yeah, like how'd you kind of feel at that time?
at that time, it was amazing because that was my first 400 indoor 400 in like I believe like 3 or 4 years. Um, and so to drop a 45-0 after my PR was like 47 something indoor, it was amazing. I mean, it showed that I made the right choice in coming to Arkansas. I found the perfect coach that knows how to coach an athlete, an athlete like me, who isn't necessarily too quick around the first 200. So, and also an athlete that doesn't really handle speed or didn't really handle speed that well at the time. Um, and I wouldn't say it went to my head, but I was like, I kind of felt like I was doing the right thing, taking the right step in the right direction.
Got you, got you. And I wanted to circle later on, but you've mentioned it a couple times because like you are notorious for not getting out pretty quick, right? Like you're notorious for that slower kind of first half, the first 200, and then you just like turn on the jets. Has that always been a thing? And I wonder if like I don't know, does that date back to or maybe resonate with like your cross country days and your distant days, or is that just something you've always done? When you were running the 400.
I think it goes back to, yeah, when I like first started competing. Even when I was running cross country, I would be that kid that, keeps a leisurely pace, throughout the race. And then at last stretch, that's when I just give them all. Um, so yeah, I've always been like that.
Has there? I wonder if their coaches, and especially once you got to Arkansas, if your coach was like, "All right, we got to like change this," or he's just like, "Nah, like we can work with this and just like adjust, your race model to that."
Yeah, Coach Case works with it. You know, the what 2, 3 years I've been here, my main thing was getting my speed, like
Mhm.
if it's possible. And it has. I've gotten faster. But I'm still trying to figure out that happy medium of my first 200. Because my second 200 is fine. Like I don't have to
Cooking.
touch. My base is there. But mentally, it's just, me trying to figure out that first half of my race.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So we'll circle back to that. But at Arkansas, you have that 1 year indoors and out, and then that's it for you. And I wonder, like, was there a point where you were like, okay, maybe I want to make track a thing. Maybe I want to make this a career and like continue to run post Arkansas.
If you ask anybody here,
Mm.
they would tell you that I was ready to quit. Um,
Ooh.
after that 1 year, like I had my plan A in mind. Track was the plan B. I had my plan A, which was to pursue a career in federal law enforcement. Um, but it just so happened to line up that my final year was before the Olympic year. So I was like, did pretty well this final year in college. Might as well give the pro life just a year, see how it goes. If it doesn't go well, then oh well. But if it does, we can work with something. And so went pretty well.
I mean, it went very well. I mean, so that first year coming off of Arkansas, you make the team in the relay to Budapest, right? I wonder if once you made that team, even though it wasn't individually, it was just on the relay, was that a little bit of like, okay, even more motivation of like maybe this can, things are going in the right direction on that aspect.
Yeah, I would say making that U.S. trials final in 23,
Hmm.
I would say that was, I mean, pretty much the highlight of my season because I've never made an outdoor NCAA final. Um, I've only made one outdoor SEC final, um, one SEC indoor final, and one indoor nationals final. So, for me to make that final in my last year of collegiate eligibility, it kind of boosted my head up and made me feel as though maybe I do belong in this scene. And that was kind of a push that I had going into that Olympic year.
Got you, got you. It is wild the fact that I don't know if this was maybe 2021, 2022, we wouldn't have been looking at Chris Bailey competing, right? Because that would have been going to an Olympic year, which is crazy. And even so, you make the 2023 team coming off like you said, you didn't make the outdoor final in 23 in NCAA's. You made the indoor final. I wonder if there was still like again balancing. Okay, this is validation maybe of like okay things are going well, but if there was still maybe this level of am I sure like this can actually happen? Because a lot of times, in the public, we herald like the NCAA champions or the top three at NCAA's and like the people who make teams individually, but sometimes everyone else gets lost in the sauce. Even indoors in 2024, you made the team again in the relay indoors. I wonder if you were if there was any battle of like, okay, I know that I'm like these things are working out, but like maybe I'm not seeing the progress. I wonder how you kind of like balance that.
That is a great question. I would say, I don't know. I'm not sure. Um, One thing I would say that really drove me, I'm one of those athletes that isn't afraid to look at the Twitter and the Instagram comments. And so I seen one comment, I believe it was indoor, indoor nationals in New Mexico that said, I don't know how to race. Like they said I don't know how to race. And I was like, huh. At first I took offense to it, but then I was like, they're kind of onto something. And one day my coach said it. He said, I just be out there running. And I was like, huh. So last year, that's when I channeled the don't just run. You gotta race. So that's where I was mentally like more locked in on my positioning in races. And not so worried about times or whatever, because time doesn't matter at trials. Place matters. Um, and the people I'm competing against, if I need to get the standard, I will get the standard in that race. Like in any race, I told the line with some of these top athletes, times will come, and it's all about positioning. And that's something that really stuck with me that day.
Man, okay, so that's wild because a lot of people will say, I don't let the online people get to me. I don't let them say, yeah, it doesn't matter like what people say. And even though, like I said, you didn't win NCAAs or anything, but you've made teams at least, relay wise, right? You've been competing with some of the best, but you took that a little bit of like, that kind of like you took that to heart a little bit.
Yeah, it was at first I was like, okay, this person don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But every now and then I think back to it and I'm like, man, that person was kind of right.
Man, I hope people don't start tweeting you even more now, and they're like, let me try and get in Chris's head.
It won't work.
Yeah.
It won't.
Now you killing it now. So you were like you're really cooking. So now even before we get to like 2024, I wonder what your day to day is like in terms of like training and like living because obviously now you're not in school anymore, right? You're not an NCAA athlete. So I wonder how you're able to sustain yourself, how you're able to like train properly, like how you're able to just like do what you need to do to be a high level athlete.
So last year during the Olympic year, I was a grad assistant at the University of Arkansas, working within student athlete development department, which is pretty much like a department that is specifically made for or to aid student athletes in anything postgraduate. So whether or not they want to pursue a professional career in their sport, go to grad school or whatever, or find a full-time job. So financially, that was something that helped. It kept me here, allowed me to train, and of course the staff and the coaches here at Arkansas invited me back with open arms. Um, and then also since I made that team in Budapest, I became a tier athlete. So that helped. Prize money from relay, that helped. So I wasn't too concerned about, not having a sponsor or whatever, because I'm a realistic person. I
Mhm.
know I wasn't running fast enough to get a sponsor at the time, coming off of my last year in college. So, that wasn't really a big deal to me. Um, Everything lined up pretty well. My second year under Coach Case proved to be an exceptional year. And that really built the base for me going into this year. Now, finally do have a sponsor. And of course, still have grants and whatever prize money. So, not too concerned on the financial aspect of it. Um, no school means I'm in my house a lot. If I'm not at practice, or out on my motorcycle that everybody hates that I have. I'm just here.
Oh man. Wait, what kind of motorcycle do you have?
I have a Yamaha MT-07.
Is so I could tell, maybe I could tell. I'm assuming seems like maybe coach and like their coach may not be as happy, or maybe like other people may not be as happy that you ride the motorcycle.
Um, my coach, he he didn't say no, didn't say yes, because he was the type of person to have motorcycles, be on motorcycles in his youth. Now his wife, she hates it. Um, I actually just got lectured by the Arkansas men's head coach, Coach Chris Bucknam, about it while we was at SECs. Um, but I mean, it's been something that I've wanted since I was in middle school. Coach Kenneth, when we was at Tennessee, he told me I can't get it until I graduated. So I graduated twice already. Made the Olympic team, made the Olympic final, Olympic gold medalist. So like, proud of myself. I took the motorcycle classes in December, and I believe I bought the motorcycle on January 1st.
Oh wow. So a little New Year's present for yourself.
Yep.
Man, so I'm gonna get back to track in a second, but I am curious. Like, you've wanted it since you were a kid. Like, has it been? I don't know. Have motorcycles always been in your life? Like, was it something that? Yeah. What happened?
It was just something that I randomly picked up on,
Mhm.
and I just be on YouTube looking at motorcycle stuff. I learned how to ride a motorcycle before I ever touched one. My first time getting on a motorcycle was December, like this past December.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. And then January 1st, you got a motorcycle already. And then what's like the parents like? What do they say of like?
they be stressed. They be stressed. But I mean, I ride within my means. I'm not
Yeah.
out doing anything crazy on it or whatever. Um, Very vigilant. So, I'm always looking out for the other drivers because that's the main concern.
Yeah.
They're not concerned about me. They're just concerned about everybody else around me because people drive crazy out here.
Very true, very true. But like you said, you an adult and everything kind of came together where it's like, all right, you graduated, you did your things, you got your cert, you learned everything. So yeah, that's really, really dope. That's really, really dope. So now fast forwarding a little bit in 2024. So it wasn't, am I right? In the middle of the year, you got the opportunity to work with Tracksmith?
Yes, they reached out to me, I think like a week or two before I went to Eugene for trials.
Got you, got you, got you. And so I know you worked with them, of course, from trials all the way till, recently at the top of this year. I wonder how that changed things for you, or if it changed anything for you as it related to like your day to day of, being a pro athlete.
Yes, it did. They to have just to have some type of support, that helps a lot. They took a risk, well, not really a risk, just a gamble on me, along with a lot of other athletes. And for that support, I mean, I'm always grateful for it. Tracksmith is a very great brand. They produce great products, and the time that we spent together, it was great. Shoes are a big thing in track and field. And so to just be able to get sent out some good trainers to run in, that really took a lot of, the financial burden off of this sport because people know a track and field can get expensive.
Yeah.
So for me not to have to worry about having some shoes and run in, that's great. So
Yeah, that's a fact. And what I love about your progression and like, everything you've been through is like you almost to a degree, I don't know, embody a track and field athlete where you've been at all these different levels. Of course, in the NCAA, you had to transfer schools, you had to deal with coaching changes. Finished college, but you didn't have a sponsor. You worked with Tracksmith, not like one of the major shoe sponsors, but you started to kind of like work up the ladder, and then eventually now you're with Nike. It's like seeing that kind of progression, I think is really important and kind of like, shows, all right, like you may not be one of the fastest out here. You may not be the best athlete, an NCAA champion or whatever, but like that consistency will really pay off in different ways. So yeah, seeing your progression is really, really big. And so that kind of did come to a head at the Olympic trials last year, where in two parts, you made the team individually in that 400, and then eventually, of course, made the final and made the 4x4. But in that Olympic final race, going through the rounds, you make the final. You're on the outside lane, I think, right? I don't know were you in lane 8 or you were in lane 2? Oh, my bad. So I'm thinking of a different one. But that race model where you don't get out very strong and you got all the guys, like all the top names are on your outside. Like, and I'm watching the race and I'm like, Chris, because you've been running very well throughout the year, leading up to then, setting a personal best a couple times as well. But like, I'm like, Chris, like, are you really going like leave this thing to the last minute? I wonder like how that race kind of unfolded for you.
yeah, honestly, I think I was just happy to be there. Down in lane two, because I'm watching everybody and I'm like, wow, they are moving. They are moving out there. I think Duran was like what, 20.5 or something. And I'm like, going that fast. But being down in lane two, it probably did take me out of it mentally a little bit. Um, like I said, I mean, my finish was great. I had the second fastest last 100 besides Quincy. So I finish wasn't bad. It was just that first part of the race. That was my first time or second time having 3 rounds, and I wouldn't say it didn't affect me as bad as I thought it would. Um, so I guess I was also just being a little cautious about the body. Just a little nervous going out there for my first Olympic final. Um, but I ran 44.5. I couldn't really complain about it.
I mean, yeah, that was big. And you set your PB in the semifinals beforehand. What going into the year in general, like, did you? I know the goal was the Olympic Games, but when you got to that final, were you like, okay, like I'm here, like I'm actually in this final, this thing that I've been working for? Like, did that kind of like settle for a moment?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the most stressful part about last year was trials
Hmm.
because you make that team after trials. It's like, okay, you just got to do it again. Like, because I mean, of course, a lot of people know that Team USA is the hardest team to make. It's almost like a slogan at this point within USATF. Um, so I just knew that I didn't really have to do anything crazy, or I didn't expect to have to do anything crazy. But to make that final, it took a lot. Like it took some fast times. which was not expected. And also just to medal in that final, like that was the fastest final 400 final I believe ever.
Ever. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't complain about it, you know.
There you go. That is crazy, and it's true. It's like guys were running 43 in the semifinals. Like they were kind of cooking it, and then yeah, that final everyone was running 43. So for you to make that final, and again, you're only a year out, and like a year before then, few people even knew your name. So now you're on Team USA. Now you're in an Olympic final. Like that's really really big. And then just a few days later, you're leading off that 4x4 team. I mean, did I wonder if beforehand you knew that you were going to be on the 4x4? Like, even as the 400s are going on, did you know that you were going to be on that 4x4 team?
I did not. In my
Mm.
mind, I was like, okay, I'll run the prelim of the 4x4 because we had Quincy, new Olympic champion, Rob Benjamin, new Olympic champion. Um, Vernon was showing out on the mixed relays, playing I don't know how many 43s during the Olympics, and then that was me. Um, I technically had the slowest PR out of everybody in the open four and the relay pool because Bryce and Quincy they ran 44:20 like a week or two before we left for the Olympics. So it's like, okay, I can give him a good leg on the prelims and watch from the stands. Um, but unfortunately, there was a few injuries between Quincy and Mike, and I was just prepared, in track and field, and then specifically for Team USA, like one thing that was instilled in me was always be prepared because anything can happen. Like you never know. Um, and so I was prepared. I wouldn't say I specifically trained to run 5 400s and spent like 6 or 7 days, but my fitness is there or was there, so I was just mentally prepared for it.
There you go. And you popped off. The one thing that I remember, is you ran where you split, I guess it's like unofficially officially, but you split 44-4 on that opening leg. And I remember because obviously that was the whole relay was insane, but that was faster than what the leadoff leg on the world record team had split. And I'm like, yo, Chris, like you said, you ran all these rounds and you still came out in the final to really show up for the team and set the team up for success. Like after the relay, after y'all got the gold medal, after everything, like again, kind of going back, did you get a chance to reflect like, man, like I showed up, like I did it, like I did this?
Believe it or not, I was actually disappointed at my leg.
Really?
Yeah. In my mind, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go out here and split 43 on lead off. Um, but as soon as that gun went off, I'm like, oh, this is I don't know, I just fell off. Um, I was disappointed that I didn't hand off in first. Um, because I don't know why. I was thinking of Elijah Godwin when he led off for Team USA in Eugene at World Championships. I was like, I want to do something like that, but I didn't pull it off. So I was kind of disappointed. Um, and I also didn't like how close the race was at the end because in my mind I was like, okay, if I would have, just given a little more, like if I would have ran my open PR lead off, who knows? We would have had a bigger lead. Um, but I was also confident in Vernon, Bryce, and Rod to, do their job. Um, the bunch of relay experience between them, they've been on that stage before. So I know they were pretty composed and it showed when they were able to get the job done as well. So
I like that. It's crazy to hear, but I do like that. You're like, man, we could have done better. I wanted to do more. Like, even though again, you're like people don't just be splitting 43s on leadoff legs. So like, but like you said, you got that drive in you where it's like, nah, like I want to do more. So I actually really, really do like that. Um, so now let's get into 2025 where you decided to run indoors and like coming right off the Olympic Games, right off of, an amazing year, and now going into like a long, season where we got the world champs in September. What was the decision to run indoors? Like, why did you choose to do that?
prize money. Um, and also my name like really wasn't out there. I was still unsponsored. I don't want to say my name wasn't out there. I was just I don't know. I don't know. I felt like I needed to do more in order to put my name out there, I would say. Um, I had a pretty good season opener too, so that was also an attribute to me going to World Indoors.
I mean, pretty good is like low key like an understatement. I mean, like 44/7 indoors is, I mean, literally no joke. One of the fastest all time. What did you expect that based on what was occurring in training, or was it like, nah?
I was not expecting that. Like training was going pretty good. Coming off of that postseason with the Olympics, training is a little weird because my coach is a collegiate coach. And so I have to like kind of alter my workout plans or like when I decide to come back. And the collegiates are already, doing fall training. Like they're in the middle of fall training when I'm just starting. And so it was a lot of me and another athlete who trains here with my coach, post collegiate. Me and him, 400 runner, and he's a 110 hurdler. Me and him doing fall conditioning together. So, um, but yeah, I 44/7 was pretty unheard of to me. I didn't expect it at all, but there we went.
There we went. Yes, it was. Listen, I think there was a lot of people who were like, "Hold up," because obviously you clearly shown the talent, not even in 2024, but again, going back to when you ran 44, 45, at Arkansas, it's like obviously you have that talent, but to pop off with 44/7, that was huge, and then of course that led to the immaculate indoor season, capped off with 2 gold medals, including the individual four. I, from my vantage point, especially after USA indoors, where it was like a super bumpy race, but you still got the win. When I looked at world indoors, I was like, Chris controls this race right now. Like I feel like you were just like in cruise control. I wonder if you kind of felt super confident as the season progressed indoors.
Um, yeah, I would say I felt pretty confident. I just knew what I had to do. You can't really control what other people do. But one thing I like do keep in mind is how other people race.
Mm.
And so I know a lot of people will get out faster than me. Um, and that's where that me not knowing how to race thing always played. I was like, okay, if I'm just in good position, essentially no one can really hang with me the last 200. And that's not me taking a shot at anybody. It's just, um, and so I just have to be close. Like if I'm close, if I'm in good position, not boxed in, then come that last 150 meters, like I can win any race I'm in. Um, Despite all the bumping in indoors, world indoors and US trials, I mean, yeah, my confidence was pretty up there.
Yeah, and like, yeah, it's confidence. It's not a shot at anybody. Like, yeah, you got to be confident. And I do remember you had, if I think I'm right, at USA indoors and at World indoors, you were in lane 6, I think, both times. So it was like easy enough for even if you're a little bit behind or like you're in the mix, you got at least a safe path to kind of go for everything. So that was
Yeah,
good.
putting me right like on the outside of everybody. Um, just to avoid that traffic because I feel like if I was inside, then I definitely would have got like sent to the back because yeah.
Yeah, so you came out, you cooked, and so indoors, getting your name out there, getting the prize money, was that all a catalyst leading to signing with Nike at the right before the outdoor season kind of kicked off?
Mm. With me, I wasn't like too concerned about getting a sponsor, because that's just added unnecessary stress if I'm stressing about like not being sponsored. I was just more so focused on doing what I can in order to, let them see like I'm something worth taking a gamble on. Um, yeah, I just wanted to make myself a worthy investment and it worked out.
Right.
I typically left all the, stressing to my agent. to get that stuff done.
That makes sense. You gotta do what you do best, which is competing, and then yeah, your agent can handle all the other things. And clearly, it worked out. So now this will be like the third time I ask because it's again different stages from 2023. No sponsor, no Tracksmith. 2024, after right before trials, you're working with Tracksmith. Now with Nike, has your day to day changed over the past year? Like, do things feel a little bit easier, or is it just like things are smooth?
Everything's pretty smooth, relatively. I mean, you know, I'm gonna meet the certain quotas of whatever's in my contract, certain amount of races or whatever. Like I ran indoor. It's a long season. That's normal track and field.
Mhm.
And so yeah, no, nothing's really changed.
Got you. Okay, so you gotta run a certain amount of races to make sure you fulfill your contract, but you feel confident that it's like, it's a normal kind of thing.
Yeah.
Got you. Nice. So now as we look forward, like again, you've done it's crazy because you literally just left school in 2023, but you've done so much. And now at the top of 2025 already, you've of course again won World Indoor Gold. You ran at Grand Slam and you won the 400 there. You've already set a PB, right, 44-1, and you ran 44-2 in at the Diamond League. So you've surpassed what you did last year in terms of times. I wonder if like you feel like you have a lot of momentum going into 2025, throughout the season now. Where's your mindset at?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident on my ability to make the team. Um, I know I have to show up on the day.
Mhm.
Um, and so my plan is just, take it round by round, pretty much like I did last year. Whatever it takes to get me the big Q in each of my heats, so I can get a good lane and vie for the individual spot on that World Championship team from Tokyo.
And you said that, like you said, you and one other person who's not even a 400 runner are training together, and you were noting that because your coach is still a college coach, there's that balance that has to be done, and especially have it coming into this year off of the Olympics. I wonder if like how much you sat down and were like, okay, I need to make sure I'm shifting these things compared to last year, specifically because USA's it's like the first week of August, like the end of July, and Worlds is like the middle of September. Like, how much have you kind of shifted things to prepare for this year?
Um, my coach is a mastermind behind, figuring out workout plans and, once I have my meet schedule, um, we typically, me, my agent, and my coach, like we've been countless phone calls discussing meet schedules, where I want to run at. And even after coming back from China, PRM back to back weekends, man, I was actually supposed to be in Rabat this week, but
Mhm.
after China, I was like, in 2 weeks in China, it was great. PR twice, so I think I'm just gonna sit down and just train. Like I haven't had a consistent training block since indoor. 'Cause I've just been traveling so much. And so I brought that idea to my coach and he was like, okay. And now we're just working. I know people have noticed that I haven't been racing. It's not because I'm injured. I'm healthy. Training is going well. It's just I wanted some consistency in the weight room and on the track, in regards to my training. So I will be racing again June 7th in Jamaica, Racers Grand Prix.
Nice, nice. Yeah. And I think like you, it may look like, yeah, the past couple weeks you haven't raced, but like you ran both Diamond Leagues in China, you ran a full indoor season. It's like, I don't know, people should be like, listen, you've been doing a lot. And even to that point where I mean, you're so humble, you're so chill. But I wonder if now like you can just you have the option. You're like, I could do Rabat, but like I don't necessarily have to. Like, did you even imagine you'd ever be at a point like this where you can like deny a Diamond League race?
Oh, I always thought it would be a struggle for me to get in that races. Um, but I mean, yeah, that's just how life works.
That's it's crazy. It's crazy. Again, barely 2 years ago, you were like, I don't even know. Like track was your second option, right? It wasn't even your first option. So now it's like you choosing when to run Diamond League races. That's such a it's amazing. It's really, really amazing. Um, so just two other things. One is what are some of the, I know we've spoken a little bit, but like, what are some of the toughest moments that you've experienced throughout your career, whether it's, I don't know, going all the way back to college or, even now as a professional? Yeah, what are some of those tough moments and what have you been able to do, or who are the people that have helped you to be able to like push through, those tough moments to be who you are now?
I would say my toughest moment in this sport would be my last year in college. The week before it, well, during the outdoor season, I had gotten sick with like a stomach, some type of gut bacteria or something. And so, that threw training off and just overall threw my body off. And then the week before SECs, I believe it was the week before, May 6th, my grandmother passed away. Um, and between me being sick and losing my grandmother, it was just, mine was just all over the place. And so, man, I ended up running at SECs, but I almost ran like 47 seconds or something. Um, and the shake back from that was pretty good, but it just didn't line up for my collegiate career. But going into trials, I mean, I made the final and was able to make my first US team. So that kind of, shifted everything and worked out for a bit. Yeah.
That's dope. And that's like big because a relatively pivotal time, your final year, SECs, especially, for Arkansas, it's like a big deal of like, all right, this is conferences, but then you have, not only sickness, but like you said, you lose someone really, really close to you, but being able to like kind of circle back and, pick yourself up, that's huge. That is huge. So that's true resilience, man. So now looking forward, what about some of those long-term goals? Like, do you have any long-term goals or like do you even sit down and like write down goals of like this year, 2 years, 5 years down the line, 10 years even?
The first time, my first and only time I've like written down things was during Olympic trials last year.
Mm.
And I think I did that probably like a day or two before I left to go to trials. Um, it's not something I currently do now. Not saying I won't do it, in a few months from now. Um, but I do think about my future within this sport. I've been saying that, I have the aspiration to make at least three Olympic teams. So that'll be 28 and 32. Um, Vernon Norwood is a prime example of anything is possible. And, he's like a big brother to me in this sport. I mean, the weeks we've spent in China racing them diamond leagues, we had a lot of time to talk. And even before making the Olympic team, like we went out there for an outdoor meet at LSU, and that's when I told him that this is probably gonna be my last year doing it, and he was like, "Nah, man, keep going." And so, just having people like that in this sport really helps a lot. People you can go to that have a lot of experience within the sport, know how a lot of things work in regards to pro circuits or working with agents and these shoe companies. It helps a lot. So
That has me thinking because it's interesting where you have someone like a Vernon or like other people that you could go to speak with who like provide that guidance or support. But then like you said, you essentially train almost by yourself. Like you're a 400 runner. I wonder how that kind of balances in your mind of like, all right, I gotta like lock in practice on my own, but I still got this like these other people I can kind of like talk to in a sense.
but fall training was with the 110
The
hurdler.
hurdler, yeah, yeah.
Now I work like I work with collegiate athletes as well. So
Gotcha, gotcha,
those are
gotcha.
where but no, it helps a lot. And it shows that track athletes, we all don't hate each other. Like we compete against each other all the time. But outside of like being on that 400-meter track, like we don't have a problem with each other. Like everybody's pretty level headed. I mean, I'm not speaking for everybody. Um, I don't have any beefs with anyone in this track and field community. Um, so I mean, I feel as though everybody, like if you ask a track athlete something, like if I go to another track athlete and ask them something, they'll give me a pretty reasonable answer. I don't feel as though they would do anything out of spite. Um, and I feel as though a lot of social media tends to put it that way. Like we all hate each other. We don't hate each other. We just come here, do our job, and leave. It's really all it is.
Yeah, it's true. Social media, they kind of OD. They definitely take things a little far. Even if it's like they see a little bit of something, they'll like take it way too far. It's like that's not even what's going on. Like, and I'm sure y'all in the background probably laughing like, what's going on online and all this stuff. So no, I feel that. Well, Chris Bailey, so dope to be able to chat and like to just hear your progression and everything. Again, it's hard to, again, from the outside looking in, it's really tough to, I don't know, to understand like what you've been through. Like you don't have a traditional journey, but you do have like all these different pieces where a lot of people can kind of connect with, where you've been through ups and downs, you've been through all these different transitions, and now you're here and things are like, again, to me, things are like clicking. You're on a roll right now, and I love to see it. So super excited for this year, man. But yeah, thanks so much. Really appreciate it, bro.
Thank you, Anderson. Good talking with you.
Absolutely, absolutely.